welcome to Synchronicity. All right, I don't know what the fuck happened in this episode. Actually, I have an inkling of what did. Whoa, what is that any way to start a podcast? I don't think so. Welcome, people who listen to this. I'm talking to you. Welcome back to another exciting week. Will I go off on a defensive Black Lives Matter rant this episode? No, I saved that for last week and the Instagram live I did yesterday, so you can check that out. It's on IGTV, and I sound like a dumbass and dork saying it like that. IGTV. That's what it is, though. That's where it is. It's on Instagram. Anyway, if you want to go see that, check it out. Lou egged me on. Lou was like, yo, Black Lives Matter. Jesus is black. And I had to talk about it. Brought up some Frederick Douglass stuff. Brought up a lot of shit. And yeah, it was good. Good times. All right. This week, Karen Rontowski is the guest. Let me give a few notes about this episode. Number one, my audio is fucked. I don't know what happened. My computer, there were magical circumstances that even allowed this to happen. I didn't even want to call Karen's attention to it, so she was thinking about it. But the previous day, I discovered that my interface charged or kept a charge at least on my computer, like my audio interface. And so I was like, oh, I don't need a charger. This is amazing. I can just use this. So I was like, all right, cool. So it holds a charge. It 42, it stays around 42. It's fine. I really test the limits on this podcast because I started it at 4% and it kept hovering between 4 and 2%. So at any point during this entire conversation, I'm convinced this thing is just going to crap out and I'm going to lose everything. It's not going to save the file and everything. So that was one thing that was going on. Number two, I don't know what the fuck happened to the audio here. You will never hear a podcast where my audio is this fucked. It sounds kind of like it's my computer speaker, but I was sure it was coming in through my interface. And it sounds like it's doubled. There's this reverb. I don't know what the fuck it is, but it's some like pre-Mercury retrograde shit. And it is what it is, as the kids say. So that's going on. As the kids say, what am I even talking about? I don't know. But Karen is the coolest. She's the best. She has a podcast, Paranormal Karen. She does readings, tarot readings, has a tarot course. She's like really clued in. I got a reading from her. You hear me say in the beginning, I'm just trying to talk as much as possible in this intro so you can hear my voice normally. So when you hear this weird fucking spaced out fucking underwater weird reverb shit that's going on, you're not like, oh God. Because this episode is amazing. We talk a lot about dead people. We talk a lot about psychic stuff, what's going on in the world, Karen's unique perspective on just like what she, envisions happening. It's interesting. Like she talks about it being like very shadow focused, but we share a very similar vision for what's transpiring in the world. I mean, I gotta hope that this interface, I'll just get a charger. But anyway, the audio bothers me so much. It probably bothers enough of you for me to bring it up, but not everyone. But it just like drives me nuts when I sound like this. She sounds pretty good. That counts for anything. Sounds like regular broadband shit. I hate these remote podcasts. I gotta stop saying hate because then they'll keep happening. They're a thing. And I'm looking forward to when they're not, because that's pretty soon, right? We don't have to do these remote ones anymore. Because it's this technology stuff for as amazing as it is. And it is amazing. We get to communicate and talk. But we also, this fucking space voice. Fuck. All right. That's it for the intro. Yeah. I think, should we mention the guys at Ned? I think we should. Those guys at Ned. What is Ned? It's not the guy's name. It's the name of the company that sponsors me and sends me sweet ass fucking CBD oil, full spectrum hemp oil as they call it, because they're fancy. The guys at Ned, go to helloned.com, use the code SYC. Oh, Jesus Christ. Use the code SYNC. I've only been doing this for 5-6 years. I should probably know. SYNC. Use that code. You get 15% off everything you order. I personally, CBD full spectrum hemp oil. I like the lip balm too. I know like chapped lips is kind of like the chapstick is like this never ending game of like, you start using it and you can't. I found it to be the opposite with theirs. If your lips are chapped, I've had this one. It's not really a great business model from their end, but I find this one chapstick lasted me forever. It's like it fixes my chapped lips. It doesn't make me a slave to the chapstick. No one wants to be a slave to chapstick. So I like that. Use that. You can get 15% off. They have all these other wellness products. They're just cool fucking dudes. They play binaural beats to their plants. That's cool. Who does that? Who plays music to their plants? They should do a video of that. Maybe there is. Maybe I haven't seen it. But do a video of that, guys. Anyway, use the code SYNC at checkout when you go to helloned.com. Order that shit. Then they know that I'm doing a good job and then they don't whip me at night. I don't know. They don't live around me, but they don't send their minions to come with me. Anyway, helloned.com. Cool. All right. I think we're going to get to the episode. We'll have a solo cast next week and doing a bunch of these Instagram lives, YouTube things, Patreons. You already know. I'm not going to mention it in the beginning. That's going on. Readings. Oh, shit. Let me mention this at the top. I'll mention it at the end. First of all, sign up for a reading with Karen. She's better than me. All right. 90% of the people you're going to hear are better than me. It's only half true, but Karen's fucking amazing. Her detail was fucking awesome. If you want some like soothsaying oracle shit, oh, Karen's your person. For me, I'm doing Mercury retrograde readings again. We're about to pop into that, so you can check the website syncpodcast.com for those readings. All right, it's not supposed to do that at the intro. No one wants to hear that shit. Go check out Karen's podcast. Go check out everything she does. She's hilarious. She's a comedian. She's fucking amazing. All right. That's it. Without further ado, here is Karen Rontowski.
My lights, I'm just glad it sounds good, and it's like my face is right here for you. It's right here.
Yeah, and
can you move back?
This will probably be audio, and if I do it on Patreon, I might do the video thing. I don't know how my schedule is lining up, but I think I'm going to put this out as a regular episode next week. Audio, so you don't have to worry about lighting or anything. But yeah, I'm excited to do this.
I know. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. I had a reading with you 2.5 months or 2 months ago. It was definitely before now because I remember the questions I were asking around like divorce and like relationship and money and loans. And you said you couldn't have been more right about like everything you had said. I remember I asked about like loans, trying to figure out if I could get this like $35,000 loan or something like that. And then all this crazy shit. It was right before the pandemic. It must have been right before, right when it was starting. So somewhere in like March, maybe. Um, and all of these weird loans just came through, which culminated in me just getting one from the Small Business Association for like 65 grand yesterday. It like came through.
Oh, great.
Yeah. And it's just like money is just being like a really funny thing with this Venus retrograde stuff. But anyway, this is all to say that your reading was like one of the best I've ever gotten. And it was like so free and cool, but wise. And like you were clearly tapping into like very accurate energy. And I became aware of you through Jessa. I saw you on a live stream with her, and I heard your name mentioned in Ryan, my friend Ryan Singer. And I'm just curious to like learn more about you, like how you got started doing this stuff. Like you, like who are you? What's going on? You're cool. I know that.
Well, thank you. It's so funny because I have been hearing about you forever with Jessa and Lacey and everybody. And I forget who said it the last time. And I was like, I have to find who this is. And then I found all these Noah Lamberts and I couldn't find you. And then I don't know how to use Instagram. Like I'm not a computer idiot, but Instagram is the only one I don't know. And then I go to my phone and I don't know why you come up in the contacts. It must have been your email. And I was like, wait, I know him. And then I looked in Instagram and there was the message from you. And I was like, oh, I hope I didn't wait too long. So it's sort of like, this is a weird meeting. And then you were like, oh, you read for me. And I was like, oh, wow. I know you were thinking like, she's pretty flaky. She forgets things.
No, but not at all. I've also like, I've done this, and I'm sure you've been in like the comedy and reading world long enough to know that things tend to work out perfectly at the perfect time when they're supposed to. So like I've had exact same situations where like someone's been reaching out to me, or like there was some energy where people were talking about, and I'm like, huh? And then I find them at the perfect time. I'm like, oh, it's perfect. So like I never thought you were fake. I was just like, whenever we connect,
whenever she gets in touch. Yeah. Well, and thank you for all your kind words. I feel so lucky at this time. I feel like we are in the right time for readings and whatnot. In fact, it's funny. Today I was working on a joke about how people expect psychics to be perfect, and if you're not perfect, then you're a fraud.
yeah,
Where Yeah, how long you been going to your therapist? 20 years. Maybe, like no criticism at all. 20 years, you don't get it. So it's a very interesting, but I think there's so many people that are waking up and having things happen right now that we're in the right place.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I think about this therapy stuff a lot, and I also don't try to, like, go after anyone's profession or modality just because I don't have anything to prove, but I do know exactly what you're talking about, like, people willingly give up hours and years and thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars for someone to kind of just acknowledge their reality, and I'm all into providing a space for someone to work through their stuff, but if someone can through other means, whether it's intuition or metaphysical things, really get people to step into their own power. Like that to me is far more
Hmm.
and also just seems far more efficient. And like, it does make you question like where the energy coalesces in some of these things, like medical professions and like, things like you have to pay this much. You pay this much money to become a therapist, so you have to at least recoup that. So you have to see X amount of clients or charge this amount. Whereas a lot of this energy work, like I know for me when I started doing it, it was like, I have to do this. Like, and I started to do it for free. And then the feedback came in and I was like, all right, I got to start charging money to gate my time. Like, it's not like you did something and made like a long commitment to become something. It's just like you do it. So what was that process like for you? Like, I mean, you have a tarot course, like you have all this stuff. Like, when did you get into like readings and stuff like
Well, I had a few psychic experience when I was a kid, a couple enough to just be a believer. Like I'm all in, and I say that too on my podcast. I am skeptical if you're selling something crazy, but I am open minded on the way in. But I had seen a couple of readers in my life, and then I met this woman in San Diego, and she was the best. She was amazing, and she was the real deal. That was the thing about her. She went to India every year to see her guru. Like she was walked the walk, I could say. And she would say, you should get a deck, and she would show me little things about the deck. So when I started, I wasn't sure, I didn't get it, but I thought if I learn every single thing about these cards, if I'm a student of the what does the color mean, the symbol, this and that, it's going to be a puzzle and I can put it together. And I feel like that was what really woke up the intuition. Like I know you probably do this same thing. When I read, I call it on the cards and off the cards. Which on the cards is I'm just telling you what the cards say. Off the cards is something that comes, the other half.
that?
But she, she inspired me so much, and I really just had the cards long time. Was reading them, was doing everything, loved them. I called them my little friends, and then I was doing about 30 to 35 weeks a year on the road. And I was like, can't do it. Too
Yeah.
much. And I thought, well, let's try this exactly like you. Let's try this as a little side gig. I think I was $20 an hour when I started. And then it inched up and then it just grew. And now, especially with COVID, it's constant now,
Yeah.
which is such a great thing. I feel so grateful for that.
Yeah, yeah, it's super cool. It's such a clear shift for people who you can't even go to a therapist like you used to. I know people who are going are just now being able to car meetups sometimes for people who really need to go or phone stuff, which is fine. And energy readings can obviously be real too, but there's the depth of these things that really like needed right now. And when people step into it, it can open up to like, yeah, I think skepticism in the truest sense too, what you mentioned, like that's from a Greek term and a Greek school of thought where people like it was healthy to be a skeptic. They actually built their faith and belief by being skeptical. It wasn't this energy of like, I don't believe that. That's stupid.
Right.
Like that's not skepticism. That's just being an idiot. So being able to question what you believe, but also being open minded, like that's a prereq for even being able to like engage with this stuff. I know it's awesome during the pandemic and shit, people are gravitating towards this stuff so much. I mean, what better timing? It's fucking cool.
Yeah, and I actually do agree with you. Like there's nothing wrong with therapy, but they have such a wide berth that if you can't give a psychic a wide berth, um,
Yeah.
it it's kind of. I remember a guy I read for once. I said, "So you're going to meet your next agent through a woman." And or the woman's an agent. She's going to have a daughter your age. You're going to be talking about your kids together. You don't meet her. And he goes, "Oh, so tarot's not real specific, right?" And I was like, "Well, I don't have a ring size, but because it's like, I guess when your mind is off, it just all seems like nothing."
Yeah, that's been I think, and now people are being forced to really deal with these, ideas of what creates reality too. Everyone's reality just got so heavily interrupted in terms of what everyone's routine was. So from, like, the weirdest, most far out there person, if you're on the grid at all, your shit just got interrupted, and people are really beginning to, like, open up, I hope, to things that are around us. Like, we know that, like, you get that other half of voice you're saying where not just the energy from the cards, but, like, that weirdly specific, like, "Hey, your dead grandmother is telling me to say something to you." It's like, yeah, like, you are open to that, or it, like, dominates your life as a fear, I think, because it certainly seems like the energy around this stuff, the psychic stuff we can't perceive with our 5 senses, pretty heavy right now. It's pretty thick, pretty
Mhm.
around us. So, what do you think is going on right now too? Like, the world is clearly on fire, but what is going on?
I totally, in fact, it's real funny because I've been thinking about this a lot because I do think I'm kind of on board with everybody. We're switching, we're changing to a new dimension. The government has to fall. That's all I say. The government has to fall. It's not working for us. Even in this pandemic, we don't get our money, and it's been sort of just happening a little bit at a time. And I feel like right now we're in the warm up for November. Everybody's been targeting November. It'll be, I feel like it's going to be three things. It's going to be the election, the um, COVID probably, or a vaccination. And
Yeah.
I'm now worried the George Floyd verdict is going to come out at that time.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's,
You think they're
and
time?
if it's,
Oh, wow.
yeah, and if it's not good, which it probably won't be, this country will burn, as it should. But I feel like we're going through this stage where the other side is going to be, everything's going to be local. You're gonna know you know what I mean. You're gonna have to rebuild from your community.
Yes.
I always tell people, start saying hello to your neighbors now. Know everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know. I was watching some Mayan stuff on YouTube, and they were saying how they were always told, or the American Indian, they were always told the United States is only going to be here a short amount of time. Which is like, okay.
And that is, like, about 250. Also, it's Pluto return for the United States, which is, like, total rebirth and transformation, and also feels like a lot of ancestral roots of this country are being exposed to the point where, like, literally no one cannot pay attention. Your reaction and your response is still up to the individual and community, but it's getting dug up. Like, Hades is literally, like, shoving up the underworld into people's faces. I totally agree with you that this is almost sure to be a local community-based endeavor, and I think it's really even gonna start with, like, the families and the children that are coming into this world, like, actually having a more communal surrounding, like, that whole "takes a village," not to Hillary Clintonize thing, but, like, it does take a village, I think, and that is gonna be kind of the mindset that comes in. To me, it feels like we're still in this Kali feminine. I think this is all feminine energy, kind of like learning how to balance. Masculine's really getting taking it on right now, which is cool. But a lot of Kali energy right now. But I do think that Isis energy, that kind of like unifying, motherly, like here's a template, will come into existence. I'm really interested to see. Um, Women come into power in not I don't think it's government, but I think in those local communities, like, I'm seeing more evidence of that. I was just with my sister, and she's like, "You know who should be in charge?" Like, just from her experience, nothing to do with any of this race stuff. She's just like, "We were raised kind of by, like, West Indian women." Like, I've lived babysitters, my mom was off to work, we were raised by black women. We're like she's like, "The world should just be, like, run by black women, like, strong, independent black women. They're the best people." I'm like, it's kinda true, like, they do just lay down the way a law that, like, makes you get your shit together. It's like they had to because they were in such an unenviable position, like,
Hmm.
but yeah, times are changing for sure. Are you optimistic, cynical? What's your bearing on all this?
I'm quite paranormal. So I always, there's a lot of love and light, but I always have one foot in the shadows and one, so I tend to go dark. But I don't think this is going to be gentle at all. I think there's a lot of people that are like, send love and light to this time or whatever, and I totally agree with that. But I think you better be ready to suit up, because I don't think the armed resistance is going to be shooting love and light at you.
This is
So
just had this discussion too. And also, like, will get my metaphysical stance and playing cards out there. I think I often get mistaken for love and light, even amongst friends sometimes, because I'm so like eternally optimistic and energetic about things. But that only comes from an acute awareness of like the other shit in duality, which is the dark,
yes,
the shadow. Like you can't negate one. And I do think there is going to be this reconciliation, this kind of reckoning for love and lighters who have excluded the other. They're getting a dose of that. And I do think that might not be gentle. Collectively,
yeah.
I don't know. Like, here's a question. Do you think COVID has been gentle so far? Like, I think it's been gentle. I think this is gentle as fuck.
I totally think so. And it's funny, and I understand exactly where you're coming from, because it's not that I'm not about love and light, but
Yeah.
my shadow side is vicious, and it is at me right now. Like, I cannot tell you the lessons where I'm coming home. Like, you got to fix that. You got to look at what you're thinking there, because it's all about shadow now. But yeah, I tend to find, first of all, I think spiritual people get a bad name. Like, they think we all think we're perfect, or it's all about love and light, when it's not. But I feel like I do have some of those friends that are like, I don't ever think bad thoughts, or it's all good. And I'm like,
Oh,
you
crazy.
better watch.
Yeah, that's
Watch
called
that Scorpio.
fall real hard. Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah. If you can't say I'm a total asshole when this happens, you're not in touch, and you're going to get hit hard here. But I agree with you on COVID, and I'm a little confused on it, because I think, first of all, I think I had it, but when it first came out, there were certain things I felt like I knew. Like, I'm not worried about wiping down groceries. I think the mask is going to be the key to the whole thing, but I don't think it has. I'm with you. It seems like we haven't gotten there yet. Plus, there is that weird theory about how the flu or COVID changes your DNA, which that's why the kids aren't getting it as much, because the kids already had their DNA changed. There's something to that about human evolution that is either the good side of it, or the whatever, where we're supposed to be going.
I mean, I think I guess my hue is even the dark and the shadow and the death and destruction I view as good. I think that's kind of where I lean all the time. I look at it as just kind of like a necessary part of life, and I think we do have the ability to kind of like a lot of hubris, but I do think we can modulate our reality to kind of give us experiences and lessons in the way that we wanna run them rather than them being
Mhm.
forced on us. Because I think we're the operative mechanism here. We always tend to put this stuff from a higher place into our lives. We do it collectively, of course, but we're serving ourselves kind of a script and like a plan. And yeah, it's a weird time with the shadow and the burning and the externalization of kind of all of this stuff coming up. Um, I do think there's going to be another wave of COVID. I do think the
Mhm.
systemic injustices, not just racially but environmentally, a lot of these things will continue to flare up. Probably like past this year, truthfully, but definitely towards November. I think that's a flashpoint. Um, but I do think a lot of us who are willing to like deeply go into ourselves and like root out these places will be immune from it. And that is kind of where I feel like also the COVID stuff comes in. Like I'm really out there with the COVID shit. Like I'm not going around licking rails and like catching sneezes from people, but I do think in many ways it is kind of like your resonant frequency can make you immune from it. I don't want to say that.
Mhm.
I just want to mean like your vibe and the work you're willing to put in, even if you catch it, you won't have like these dire, like, terror situations that it's like the worst experience someone can go through in the end of life. But yeah, I do. It feels like some weird shit's coming.
I also think it's almost like, can everything going on right now is also connecting with people listening to themselves, because it's almost like there is no truth out there, because the news is all owned by one thing. But also, I watch. Okay, so when I say I'm a 5G'er, I'm not a 5G'er like everybody thinks. Like, I've been looking at 5G for years, and it's a lot of radiation, which is not good for your body. That's as much as I know. That's why I'm against it. The towers have to be 3 to 5 houses. Bad. That's all I know. But then if you follow that conspiracy, it moves into Bill Gates and data mining, which could all be true. I'm not even saying that's not true. But the bottom argument for me is it's too much radiation by the tower, by your house. Get rid of it. And then I become a 5Ger, which then they add on to that conspiracy everything else. And now it's just nonsense. So you really have to read and see what is yours. You really have to listen inside and say, what does resonate with me? Is it that, or is she wrong about that? But it's all grown, nothing. It's almost like there is a serious effort to put disinformation out there now.
I think that the way I perceive that, and I objectively see the exact same, right? That was also a concerted effort that a lot of people felt emanated kind of from the Trumpian turn of events. I think it serves kind of a divine function in the sense that it shows you a more accurate picture of reality, which is it is what you believe. You go down into a conspiracy, you're going to find all the evidence that it's true. And people can say, oh, well, if a tree falls in the forest, can you hear a sound? Like you determine it. You're there. You put yourself in that forest, you're going to hear that sound. If it's not there, it's not really for you to worry about whether it makes a sound or not. That's kind of how our reality works. Like if I imagine myself to be a room somewhere else with my eyes closed and I completely shut myself off from this reality, you can't tell me I'm not there. Like for real, I'm there. And so if that's true, and there's a relationship between kind of placing ourselves imaginally in situations and when we experience it in this world, that's where this shit gets interesting. I just think people are literally being asked to confront themselves. Like, who are you? What is this place? Are we really all kind of the creator, sustainer, and destroyer of our reality? Logically, it makes no sense, right? Analytically, that's nonsense. That's impossible. But intuitively, when people tend to look at their lives and the synchronicity, the paranormal events, and just kind of the things, like it usually goes back to like the eye of the beholder and kind of where you're at the central figure of all this stuff. And I don't know. I've been playing around with the past year and a half, like I guess people call it manifestation stuff, but for me, it's just kind of like uncovering reality, and it's a crazy place out here. It's pretty fun.
Years ago, I had a dream. This had to be 20, 30 years ago. And I was, a seashell rang and I answered it like a phone, and it was God. And he said, what did you want to ask me? And I asked something stupid and there was an answer. And then he said, no, really, what did you want to ask me? And I said, well, is it fate? Are we in charge of our own fate, or is it predetermined? And I remember there was the longest laugh I ever heard. He couldn't stop laughing, laughing. And and I said something stupid with it, like, because if it's predetermined, I'd like to watch more TV or something. Long laugh, comes back on the line, and he goes, I tell you what, you decide. And I was like, I think you're exactly right. That was his answer. You decide, which one is it?
That's what it is. That's the beauty of this whole thing. And I think the reason being, just if we want something for our intellectual and logical minds to like latch onto, it's that the way I conceive of this reality through a metaphor and analogy, which is the easiest, is there's this omnipotent, limitless being that experiences everything all the time, but it's unified. So it's static, right? It's not really, there's no change. It's just everything all the time. And this being gains the awareness that like this is kind of boring. I would like to experience something more than that, but since I'm everything, I can't do that. So what I need to do is essentially create something and then die into that thing and then play this elaborate game of hide and seek and amnesia where I run through all these scenarios and I really won't give myself anything other than this like innate teeny wisdom inside of myself that this is what I'm doing. And the game I'll play is to uncover that through a series of like lives and infinite potential and experience. And that's I think when something happens in people's lives where that doesn't just ping through as kind of like a transcendent experience that you can compartmentalize and be like that happened then because of this, but it stabilizes into like a constant state of awareness, not in a way that makes you like, oh shit, but in like a cool and fun way. That's when this reality seems to be getting like very fun for some, very terrifying for others, very like, holy shit, what the fuck? And some people are just like, what the hell is going on? Which is what a lot
Yeah.
of people are going. And
think we have this ability now, and that's why I think you and I both, regardless of our like impressions of what's coming in, that energy of locality, community, connection, magic, like all these things, agriculture. I'm sure you probably tapped into that. Like a lot of just like community stuff. A lot of us see this vision very clearly. From my understanding of how reality works, I have enough signals that that absolutely is happening. There's really nothing that can sway me, not in like a "this has to happen" type of way, but just like that's happening. And that makes me optimistic for this, regardless of what plays out in between. And then I also, at least energetically, I've been trying to cast in duality as wide of a net as possible. So the people around me and just like in general do get as gentle of an experience as they need. Some people need to be slapped in the fucking face to wake up. It's just a fact of reality. It's not a good or a bad thing, but I do think that people, if they wake up to that they're running this show, shit gets different.
It does. And you know what else? A lot of people don't want to be responsible for their lives. I've always wondered, I did ayahuasca a couple times, and one of the times when I did it, they showed me two other people. There was a woman from India, and I can't remember the man as much because I had felt a real connection with her. The man, I believe, was I think he was from Africa, but I'm not sure. And the lady said to me, "This is you." And I said, "So these are my past lives?" And she said, "No, this is you now. This
Yeah.
is going on now." And I always wonder if, with that knowledge, this is kind of a trip. Can I tap into their knowledge? Like, can I get what they know? And maybe that's how we are all one.
Yes. It is what's hilarious to me now. This is why I think comedians are in a unique position to appreciate the humor in this is everything that is conceptual and theorized and theoretical is now becoming literal and manifest
Mhm.
and physical. So this idea of having access to past lives, oh, it's like a mental, it's literally happening. Like I see this shit all the time. And it's hilarious to me. I have the same reaction. I'm like, I can't believe it's literal. It's like so on the nose that like someone scripted it. But yeah, I mean, that is my understanding of reality is that when you flash through, especially on psychedelic experiences, and you have that intuitive knowledge, like this is me, that voice talking to you is telling you it's you. You really can go into those characters and retrieve that wisdom because you drop the part of you that's Karen. You still have that localized center of awareness is everything, but you really then gain access to what people would call the Akashic records or just like infinite knowledge or like the records of Thoth. Like that shit is everywhere. And to be clear, the internet is also a part of that. We get this literal access to everyone's thoughts if we want. That's what social media is. We choose how to engage and feel from within people's perspectives and see how we react. But yeah, for the psychic people, this shit is getting so fucking funny and cool. It's like, it's the best.
I know, and if people are denying it, I feel like they're getting sick. I have a on my podcast this week, there's this woman, and someone recommended her to me, and she's an energy archaeologist, and she reads your bones. And I was so blown away at her knowledge of what we carry in each bone and what it is. And it's so funny because uh, I dabble. Tarot's my thing. I dabble in everything else. I know a little bit about everything else, but not a lot. And in Vedic astrology, they said my sole purpose is to clear my ancestral karma, which makes no sense to me, none at all. But when I was listening to her and what we carry in our bones, and she was saying, "What card is that?"
Ancestors. I just pulled it before. It says ancestors on it.
Oh, no way!
Yeah.
So, this lady has that's my card. I got to get a reading from you. This lady says, we carry our ancestral karma in our hips. She has a meditation lounge, and that was today. So that was my thing today, was to clear my ancestors out of my hips, which sounds awful if you don't know the context of that statement.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a different definition now there, isn't it? Yeah. Well, this is also what it feels like is happening, big time. People who are alive and breathing and, like, capable of doing it. Is a lot of ancestral familial purging and clearing. The only way I can talk about it is when the impressions come flooding through, when the feelings and emotions come through that feel very close to who you are, but just a little bit off, a little shade off, that can be an ancestor. That can be someone who is connected. And I've
Say
noticed
that again. Say that again.
when you're feeling like very strong emotions or like reactions that feel like you, like to a very, like almost like 99% you, like genetically, oh, so close to who you are, but just a shade off, and you can recognize it's not really your baseline energy. And this comes with like the understanding of like what I've been kind of like tapping into is this idea of like a dominant energetic signature. And what that really is like when you're alone, when you're feeling really good, really fulfilled, really happy, no one else is around you, you're in your own, whether it's a mental space or an actual physical space, that's you. That's your baseline level. So when you get shaken off that and things get dissonant, it's you ultimately, but it can in duality manifest as ancestors, people in your life, any of that shit out there. We're in duality. We're in that game. So when things feel really like you, but just a little bit off, that can be a gateway into ancestral trauma and energy. And then
Oh,
you click into it, you may even get impressions of like, the black dude version of you, the Indian woman version of you, your actual grandma, who knows who it can be. When you latch onto it, if you just let it take you, you can actually purge this ancestral trauma through you because you're alive. You have this capacity to like, okay, thanks, grandma, got it, dealing with it, putting it out. Like you actually have this ability. So a lot of like people who don't have bodies or energies that don't have bodies really use us as vessels to like work through and transmute stuff. And
right.
um, it's not, it can get overwhelming at first, but if you know how to like hold the energy, it's pretty sweet. It's like, it's pretty cool. Like it doesn't feel overwhelming. And then you actually are transmuting that shit, these patterns that felt like they're owning you, whether it's like, relationship stuff or just like racism, like basic shit. It doesn't start to own you in the same way. And then you're kind of released from it. I see a lot of people stuck in that. Because of the racial stuff that's coming up now, where a lot of people are getting affected and like they almost feel like they don't know why, and it's because there's some connection to something that maybe they weren't specifically a part of, but feel the shame and guilt and trauma, and like their dead ancestors are probably like, "Yo, can you just transmute this shit? I'm trying to get on with my thing, and you're here."
Right. That's so funny. Yeah, it's so interesting to me. Now I'm actually pretty fascinating that that was the card today because maybe that's the route I got to go because I'm working on all my shadow stuff. But right now, something is right here. And if I'm not careful, I'm not going to have any friends left if I don't deal with it because
Yeah.
it's like right on the edge.
Yeah, I feel you. I think you're probably already done with this. And also remember, like a lot of Venus retrograde and Mercury retrograde energy coming up. So it's a lot of reviewing. So that would be the time that ancestors really like funnel in. I just like to remind people just because in this reality, if you know you're getting to a further destination in linear time, like you can imagine yourself older, um, transient, this shit feels so acute right now, but it does tend to smooth out. Just knowing that that's true tends to actually make your perception of this reality like cool, like smoother. But um, you know what it feels like to me, just as an intuitive person, is like, yeah, you got some dead people energy up on you, and I think,
Dead people energy in my pelvis.
yeah, it's like that's a birthing thing that can be also pelvis also second chakra, right? Svadhisthana, that's the sexual. There can be shame and guilt and things around that.
Hmm.
If you just let yourself go and dive into the to who could be talking to you, even you have those archetypes now, which are you, like are you. This also lines up with what I got in a metaphysical fight with my partner today about reincarnation. I think this version of us, like the Karen version of you and the Noah version of me, I think this is a final destination of sorts for this earthly plane. Like we keep running Karen over and over and over and over until we like totally get it, and Noah over and over and over. I don't think this is the place where you go into like a bunny and then like a black dude. I
Right.
think that's already a part of the experience, and now we wake up as us in this time to experience a different aspect of reality. That's what I think is going on personally.
I agree with you completely because I have never felt like there was another. I feel past lives.
Yeah,
And usually I can get, that's an open minded thing too.
yeah,
Usually I can get, but I think everything is evolving and changing. And I think think about, I don't know how old you are, but I'm 54. So you go back to my childhood, the phone was on the wall. And people used to talk about we're going to have phones where we can walk around with them. And now it's like what else is now we can talk to somebody in England. It's for, like my father is still always yelling, is this long distance? Am I paying for this? Dad, there's no more long distance.
It's not a thing.
He's like, no. But I feel like there is this evolution. In fact, I was reading for somebody, I think yesterday, and I was saying to her, you're going to be able to go places, like you're going to be able to astral project and then see. And she was like, I can do that now. And I was like, no, I'm going to see you. It's almost like the time travel thing. I think that's another ability that's coming up where she will be able to come to my apartment and I will be able to see her. Not that she's going to physically,
No,
but
this,
it's sort of, it's all there.
we can do this also. Also, like, all right, so here's like time travel. I think the coolest, one of the coolest things we'll see like in this reality is probably levitation and things like that, because it's already happened and it's already like relatively believable. I know it's like probably like not that far, but time travel, my conception of it right now, and it will probably be more outpictured as time goes on. I don't even really believe in time, but what it is when we imagine a memory or an event. I use this with trauma, shame, negative things that tend to block people a lot. Is when we go back, recreate the situation in our mind's eye, feel the feelings of what happened, and then modulate them or change them into how we would have liked to react. We're quite literally time traveling from now back then and affecting that thing. And it cascades up, hits us now, and then we can loosen up what we want to do now. In the same way, this is why I think psychics are doing this naturally, but they don't have the exact process like, logically outlined. When we perceive things in the future, we're tapping into a vision that has some resonant frequency, which we tap into, accept is real, and then it is inevitably outpictured for anyone who subjectively interacts with it. And then it's like, whoa, that shit happened. That's time travel. So what it feels like to me is like future version of me who's totally perfect, totally fucking perfect. Just like who knows what he's doing up there, but pretty close. I don't feel like I'm that far, but like somewhere up there is per time traveling back, giving me information to be that version. Then my job is to go back now, go back to past versions of me and go, hey, you're good. Like chill out. Like it feels fucking crazy now, but I'm gonna change the situation up. That to me, time travel, I think that necessarily will come with what you're describing, which is by location. You will be able to see your friend, not just in like on your phone type of way, although that's cool, but like literally someone could be sleeping and show up somewhere else and be like, yo, here's some shit. And I think that's going to be a slow process in time, but I think it's inevitable for sure. For sure.
Well, my dog already does it.
There you go.
And it's my best friend is an animal communicator and she's very connected to my dog in this, but I will tell you sometimes I'll see my dog when I go into the kitchen. There's times when he's too lazy to follow me, which is very rare, and I'll literally look out of the corner of my eye and he's floating, and then I'll look over and he's gone, and I go in the bedroom and he's asleep, and I think he literally floated in. We've had so many. I think pets can do it. You know what's weird? I have no concept of time.
Yeah.
I can't tell you if I met you 20 years ago or a month ago. It all blends into one for me.
Yeah, because you have accurate perception of what reality really is, which is time is a concept. It's an asset or function. It's like I say that in the same way that gravity doesn't exist. It doesn't mean go jump off a building. Like clearly we see that we age and we have children and they age, all this stuff. It's like pretty clear, but time really doesn't exist at a root level. It's this like we've stretched out this stuff, space time, in this linear sequence for us to play out something because that's a fun thing to do. And that's what I think people forget because they look out and see these objective horrors and they go, this isn't fun. This isn't fun at all. This is horrible. But this is exactly the game you would play. You wouldn't know how great it is to transcend some horrible shit if you didn't know what horrible shit was. It would just be baseline.
Right.
Everything would be the same. So like it doesn't mean you take a passive attitude for the objective horrors and suffering of the world. You actually feel them and engage with them as the propellant to help you transcend them. And I think that's just people are learning that faster and faster because like this old world that where we could play this game where like external reality imposes its will on us because that's the game we all were choosing to buy into. That just doesn't work anymore. It's just like that's sorry, that's not working. So you have to find it in yourself to like shape the reality you want. Um, yeah, but everything is it's gonna get weirder and weirder. and probably worse and worse to a lot of people for a little bit, a couple years maybe. But I do think by like 2024, a large subset of people will be feeling pretty good. And then by 2030, I do think people will be like, what the fuck were we doing? Why did we do it like that? Like, what are you,
Right. Exactly. There's a thing in paranormal investigating. There's a couple of theories about why, like, when sometimes ghosts appear, you see half of them. Sometimes they appear like their knees, you can see knees up on the floor, and you can do research and find out, well, that house was a foot lower. That's why they're still on that plane. But sometimes they just appear from the waist up. And the theory is that it's like a projection. If I was to ask you what you look like now, you would see yourself from the waist up. You probably wouldn't see the whole body. So they're almost how they see themselves, they're projecting it. And that's what we can make out. That's why you don't see all of everybody. If I'm just thinking of my hair and my makeup, maybe all that projection is just going to be this.
okay.
So and also there's something weird about the veil getting so thin now. And it's not just ghosts, because I feel like ghosts have taken a back seat right now. That's kind of how the paranormal movement started. Can you see a ghost? But it has escalated into everything else between there, whether it's elementals or fairies or all this stuff, that it's just fascinating to me where that's going to go. I think we're years away from people seeing everything
Oh, yeah.
and being freaked out.
Oh, it's gonna be. I think it'll be just the right amount where people don't totally lose their fucking minds. But
I
yeah,
hope so.
I hope so too. I'm pretty sure. I mean, it is. It occurred to me last year that all deities, archetypals, animal totems, like all energies are real, like for real, like not like kind of like I think they're real. Like holy shit, I've been kind of playing around with jumping in and out of those energies as like an experiencer, and it's pretty great if you can catch it and balance and use them. But yeah, I mean, these things are populating into our world. I think a lot of people also understand that psychedelics or the state of consciousness that psychedelics allow us to access, because I do think all psychedelics are kind of placebos, just like this world
Yeah.
is. But the states they allow us to access, a lot of that energy is flowing in. So that's why people who are taking psychedelics now or dissociatives are brave in a pretty large sense, because they're opening themselves up to shit that is right on top of us, like right on top of us. And yeah, I think we're the ghosts too. I think we moved. That's
Yeah.
why I'm not so interested in them. Like kind of recognize ourselves as these projections and like, yeah.
It's funny. I read in my apartment. So I try to keep it, sort of spiritually cleaned, or keep the stale psychic energy out. And this is something you can only say to your psychic friends. So the other day I get up and I'm sort of doing my automatic writing, and I'm kind of sure there's a pirate in here. And I was like, why is there a pirate? And I called my animal communicator friend. She has a real relationship with my dog. Like when we take him ghost hunting and I call her, what does he see? He can almost match the history of what went on in that house, like before we know any of it.
Yeah.
So she said something about, and I keep seeing looking at one spot, and I said, I think there's a portal in here. And she said, there is, but you didn't open it. And it's something different that hasn't happened before, is it moved from somewhere, like there was a shift, and it moved into my apartment.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that there's something that runs through this apartment, and it hits my shins. And one day I had a client in here, and it ran and it banged her, and she was like, what was that? And I don't have an answer right now, but I thought there's something going on that side as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, from my perspective as a reluctant clear channel to the other side, people, disembodied spirits literally are lining up to manifest into this reality. And right now, there's only one mechanism for that into physical reality, and that's birth. And I don't want to just say people, but like beings are literally like, yo, we need to come in. Yo, we need to come in. And so what's happening is there's this reshuffling, both involving death, of course, but like deep love connections are being found, harmonious situations that allow prosperity and abundance and sustainability are coming in. And So that's also coming in because like disembodied spirits are flashing in and out, and they're setting up these vortexes that we don't perceive because we're playing out linear time. That's the game we're playing. But if we had like a little different sight, we would see those vortexes just. I remember it's somewhat difficult to talk about this because like the only thing I could say that's a pretty clear demonstration of how this works is like a ketamine. When I've done ketamine, it's because it's just, if you're both very aware of time and aware of its non-existence, and you're open to a lot of stuff, but you still recognize you're in time as long as you maintain like consciousness. Um, so that's kind of what it's like. But if we could see that, we would see all sorts of shit going on. And it would probably freak us out. But like, yeah, in time this is becoming more apparent, and yeah, there's a lot of beings who want to come here and watch and feel what's going on. It's like an octave shift up, and it's like a lot of energy and for a lot
And
of
I always wonder what is our place in this. And it's almost too like, like I'm a Mothman freak. That's my favorite crypto whatever. But I always think if I'm standing here looking at the Mothman, like he's in my consciousness, but he's not. That's the thing. I think people are going to start seeing things that aren't necessarily logged in their consciousness, which is going to be really strange. That's where I worry about people getting afraid and then running to religion. But it's just things that how they present themselves, whether they're elementals or fairies or whatever.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I've lost my thought. That always happens.
Well,
Um,
I mean, I do know related to religion and elementals and stuff like that, that when this stuff pops up into our field of awareness, it's always us. We may not consciously remember what's going on,
right.
but like this shit is always us. And when it pops up, if it feels comfortable and useful and helpful, use it. If it feels dissonant, engage with it. I mean, I actually like I don't toe the line of like it welcoming pain and suffering into my life just because like it's a choice.
Yeah.
Time I know that for some people, but like you it does have value. It really focuses your attention in on something and allows you to kind of learn lessons in a very acute way if you take that opportunity. Religion,
Yeah.
I mean, religion, I have such a paradoxical relationship with it because I actually really love like Jesus and I grew up Jewish, but like I love the mystic aspects of Christianity and Hinduism and Buddhism, but I see major misapprehensions and mistranslations of what these things actually are. And that train of thought and that tendency to kind of dominate through that stuff, there are people who try to do that. All I know is this. I don't even judge. I don't even try to have to do anything. People who want to play that game out for the next few years in linear time, prepare to have your asses handed to you. Just
Yes.
not even in like a violent, just like shit is gonna be not great. That power is gonna circle back and hit you, not in like a karmic way. Just like don't do that. It's not worth it. It's not whatever will you're trying to fulfill by controlling other people, not satisfying. It's just not.
Yeah. That's funny. I watched a lady that spoke with angels, and the favorite thing that she said she was very young. Jesus came to her, and he was like, "Hey, listen, I got to tell you, the crucifixion wasn't like that. That was he went into it was a symbol of the evil. Nobody was tying me to nailings or
Yeah,
anything like that." And he also said, she said, Jesus always comes with Buddha. They're always together.
yeah,
Jesus, because Jesus says Buddha is funny.
yeah,
And I thought, I love that so much. But I always wonder, like, as human beings, even when you get into really dark paranormal, like the Skinwalker Ranch or really stuff, heavy, heavy stuff, human beings are a little bit off limit. They can't kill us, okay? Or they can scare somebody into having a heart attack. But they everything that's going on, they can't quite kill us. Yet you have UFOs that are very frightening, that abduct people and scare them. But there seems to be something about humans that I don't know. I don't even know where I'm going with this, but it's very interesting who we are in the sort of pecking order of life. Because I've also noticed I've been investigating with um, people that were devout to a religion that I would never agree with. yet their faith is so devout that it's almost like they have a protection around them. There's something protecting them. So there is something about that religion. I don't know, it's just something about it that I always think it is in our minds.
It's there's a root to it, that is true. Like Jesus to me, whether a real person or not, I think both represents the true remembrance and reawakening and resurrection of who we are as beings. And that is God. That is like my Father, my Son, the Holy Spirit, the Mother. It's all embedded in that. And you wake up as you, as God, as you. That's literally what Jesus Christ is. Buddha also as an archetypal figure. This is where I think the West, I don't want to say it's fucked up. I hate to be so judgy, but I've worked in this field and I see a lot of people going this kind of ascetic, no desire route. And it's a mistranslation. Everything I've been encountered energetically, intuitively, and through like readings of actually the shit that people wrote, desire is amazing. It's a vehicle for ascension. It's something that immediately allows you to propel up this fiery spiral of ascension to recognize where you should be, what you should be doing. It's not a bad thing,
Hmm.
but it's like a subtle mistranslation of people not understanding. You don't want to be reckless. You don't want to be hedonistic. You want to just like fuck everyone else, only my own shit, but tie it into like a broader vision. It's one of the best things. But yeah, people will find an individual, I should say, any one of us can find infinite ways to bring out the poisons of something or the positives. And our objective awareness of a lot of people being hurt by religion, I think the real lesson for people who are like leveling up here is to recognize that horror and shame, and like just one of the worst things you can do is kind of like whip people into something because under the auspices of like spirituality and really have like power and 3D manipulation shit. That's it's gross. But if you cannot even judge those people and say they served a function to calibrate people on what true religion is, what true faith is, which is when you see something as a psychic and you know that shit is true and you feel that thing in your body and you feel that whole thing, that's faith. You don't have to question it. It's instant faith. That's what we call as psychics, like perceiving things. That's just faith. That's all it is. Loyalty to the unseen world. It will absolutely be pictured into this world through that mechanism. That's what all these parables were like. All the characters in any holy scripture where people fuck up is they think these were people and places doing things. They're not. They're all you. Literally every figure in every holy scripture is you. Just like everyone out there in the world, even though they seem like other people, that's you too. You don't have to be weird about it. You don't have to be like, hey, you're me, man. It's like some fucking weird thing, but like they're literally playing out your conceptions of them. And this is, I think, the role of like religion right now. And I think I don't know like what the dominant engagement with spirit will be. I don't think it's going to be like Christianity as this thing, but I think the reason that Jesus and Christianity and Buddha and Buddhism and all the Vedic stuff and deities there still resonate with a large amount of people is they're valid paths. Like they at the
Hmm.
core, they are true paths, even if people try to do their best to fuck them up. So yeah, it's religion's going to be another one that's going to. I mean, that's probably coming down the pipeline too, big time. I mean, not that it hasn't, but like,
Well, it's been so distorted. It's been so distorted, even into politics, where it should have no business at all. And now it's like a weird political power. But yeah, it's all. It's very interesting that you talk about desire because that it's like there's been a couple of words that I learned the meaning of. I learned that sin, the word sin, was a archery
I
term.
just talked about this today. I literally
Oh,
just
did you?
sent it to Mr. Mark. I literally
Yes.
tweeted this today.
Yeah,
Literally.
and wow, we are so in sync. Um, Demons were actually thought to be teachers.
Yes.
So if yeah, so there's so much that has been distorted, and also it really is that phrase. If you control someone's sexuality, you control them. So that's where the church sort of put this big mass of guilt and shame instead of just letting people be humans.
Well, they fucked with women too. If you look in linear time, that the oppression of the divine feminine about 3,000 years ago, you could argue before that, that comes with the cutting off of sexuality. And this also isn't like I'm also now on the side that this isn't even like a value, and I don't say this to eliminate or condone anything that happened to women within the past 3,000 years. Pretty shitty time. But it's divine feminine, also the maternal cultures that were there were also dominant. There's ample evidence that there was kind of schisms coming out. It's like whatever, I think Jessa said this and it makes so much sense. Like whatever age is unconscious, whether it's divine or masculine or feminine or masculine, it's gonna be fucked up. There's no one is better than the other. But this masculine paternal suppression of really important things like being connected to the earth, valuing intuition, community, localities like family, that stuff, as that got phased out, we hit this weird kind of robotic pitch of like just being so out of touch with who we are on a deep inner level that now we're seeing this recalibration. And I think as long as any religion, any faith honors both the masculine and feminine, and we can be 80% feminine, 20% masculine, it doesn't matter. But as long as it's honored truly, that's going to be okay. It's like an energetic propellant. Otherwise, like,
Well,
fuck, man, you have to have,
we need both. Yeah, we need both.
yeah.
It's yeah, and it's funny because that the distortion of the patriarchy is the greed and the I want and I need more, and then the it's funny because I think back, I truly believe that if there were not these whatever you want to call it, oppressions, rules, um, shame, that females would have the same sex drive as men.
I mean,
If they didn't have that weighing on them, they would have the same sex
all
drive. And
this is my current partner is a testament to that. We have equal sex drives and we have high libidos and there's no shame and there's no anything. And like, she's also someone who's had way more sexual encounters than me. I've been like pretty taken on like the not that many, like 8 people I've had sex with. And the balance there is fucking perfect. And I agree with you with that when the shame and vulnerability, and she had a tough road to hoe, no pun intended, but she had a tough basically get to the point where she was comfortable with her shit. But when women start to shed that, or anyone starts to shed that, like you will see, yeah, women have, of course, at least equal. Like, please, like, yeah.
yeah, and I always feel like a lot of guys will say that as like pride, like that, oh, well, it's because we're men and it's got to happen like that. But I think the balance, it's so funny. I keep talking about how um, I want a little trailer and a little plot of land. And all my money issues came up this year because I started to make a lot of money. And all of a sudden I felt like I had to give it away. And I did give away some, but it was I had a meditation where actually I felt like Mother Earth was like, no, no, we
Yeah.
need you on a plot of land. So don't go buy yourself a plot of land. We need you to be there. So I don't know what's going on, but I think that nurturing of the earth, people are going to be pushed to it.
You gotta come hang out in the Hudson Valley where we have a bunch of property and there's gonna be a giant pyramid with food and
Well, that my parents are in Oriskany, New York, right? I'm up your end all the time.
come hang out. There's a lot of land here. It's a lot of cool stuff. Plus, it's a valley, very auspicious place. Plus, Native Americans, a lot of Native American energy around here, which is pretty cool if you don't get freaked out.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you grew up not.
Yeah, I haven't been able to go, but I'm usually there every other month. But yeah, we'll definitely be having lunch or something when I'm back up that way.
Well, I don't want to jam you up on your readings. I know you have a bunch today, which is amazing. We need to do this again sometime.
I'd love to, and you have to come on my podcast.
Oh yeah, of course. I end with 4 questions at the end that are quick.
Okay.
What is your favorite color?
Blue.
Nice. What's your favorite number?
3.
Nice. What is your favorite animal?
Dog.
Nice. What is a practical tip that's helped you in your life that you could share with people listening? Could be anything.
Okay, I can only have one, right?
No, you can have as many as you want. Please, what do you think this is? You can do as many as you want.
I have the strangest practical gift for young girls working out. Always wear 2 sports bras. That's my tip. You wear 2 sports bras and thank me when you're 50. One on top of the other. And let me think. Overall tip. I don't want to give a fortune cookie one like follow your heart because we know all that. This was a funny one. This one stumped me.
I like that you've given 2 answers and you're like, it stumped me. It's like you've already answered it twice. You're like, this one's stumping me. It's like, there's a lesson in there for you, I'm sure. You've answered it twice.
I know.
What's the third time's the charm? What's your favorite number?
Okay. My number is, so I say, never lose your curiosity. People always ask me what is with tarot, what is with comedy, why do you mix them on stage, why do you do that? Because it's always curious. If you're a man in my life, you better always be curious about anything. I don't care if you're a janitor and it's cleaning products. As long as your curiosity stays, I stay.
All right. Last thing, where can people find out more about you, get readings, all the fun stuff? Your podcast is awesome. How do they do that? I'll have links, of course.
Thanks. So KarenRontowski.com or paranormalkaren.com. That's where you can find the podcast. You can book a reading. You can see some comedy. You can take my tarot class.
Fuck yeah. Karen, this has been so fun, so amazing. I'm glad we got to do it.
I know. I'm glad it finally happened.
It's the best. We'll connect soon. I'll have this up probably next week, but yeah, you're the best.
Great. And I'm going to call you next week. You come on my podcast because I'm like months ahead. I can't wait to speak to you again.
Yeah, for sure. All righty.
Thanks for listening to that episode. Go check out Karen Paranormal. Oh, God. ParanormalKaren.com. Karen Rontowski. Put her name in the Google and you'll find her. Go sign up for a reading with her. Go sign up for a reading with me. It's Mercury retrograde. It's coming in. I love Mercury retrograde. I find it relatively easy to navigate. That's because I just trust Mercury. I trust Hermes. I trust Thoth. I like it. It's fun. It's communication. The mercurial shit is fun for me. Let's navigate that energy together. We'll have a good time. That's it. I don't need to sell you on that shit. But if you're into a reading, if you're like, hey, I don't know, you just listen to a whole fucking episode where my audio sounds like dog shit. Maybe, you're probably into it. So go look at that. syncpodcast.com. Readings, patrons, 3 levels, $7 level, $13 level, $22 level. Really clear instructions and what you'll be getting there. Also, you've listened this far in the end. I always do extra shit. There's always extra shit there. I don't write it all down. I'm not updating the Patreon in terms of the very specific things I do. Just expect more than what I put. I'd rather say I'm doing less and deliver more than saying I'm doing all this shit and then not do it. That's just my approach. So assume there will always be more. And then don't be disappointed if there's not, because I tricked you. Mwahaha. Anyway, it's fun over there. Smoke sessions, all that. We'll probably get a bonus one this week, a smoke session. We do these Zoom things. They're fun. Anyway, that's it. Enjoy yourself, guys. It's good times. It's good times. Got some amazing guests coming up, solo casts, all that stuff. Oh, that reminds me. I'll do the Q&A Patreon thing right now. Patrons, hang in there. I'll see you in a second. All right. Bye-bye.